Talking with the experts.
And that's why there's so much silence and the bullies keep going, because it doesn't get looked at. And you've got to be silent when you leave your job. Don't tell the next employer. And it just keeps going. And look, I've struggled with doing exit interviews because nothing really comes out of that. And I know one place I worked, it took 5 years after I left before they took staff away from that particular person, and multiple people had left before me and multiple people had left after me. I just want people to know they do have a choice in this. And yeah, and you're right about seeking someone to help you with this, because it does change your brain and how you see yourself. It's not simply telling someone to let go and move on. And it's more complicated than that, the healing from it.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name's Rose Davidson from rosesdavidson.com. And Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. And you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And I would love it if you would head on over to the YouTube channel, click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to ding on the bell so that you know when my next videos are uploaded. And at the moment, there's about 190 on there, so you've got quite a few to watch. My guest today is Elizabeth Gray, and we are going to be discussing healing from workplace bullying. It's one of my favourite and least favourite topics, put it that way. And Elizabeth is the author of the book Silent No More, which details her journey from healing from workplace bullying. Elizabeth has worked previously in the corporate sector as a qualified CPA. Elizabeth's interests include writing poetry, quilting and painting, and she is also a rapid results coach, qualified. Welcome, Elizabeth, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Rose. Really appreciate that.
So tell me, you've only just released your book, so tell me a little bit about that.
It was released about 2.5 weeks ago and is available on Amazon. And can I do a short plug?
You certainly can.
Looks like that. Sorry, backgrounds aren't good, are they?
Yeah, well, very good. Congratulations. How did it go? Is it up to number one yet?
Yeah, it got number one in Australia and Canada.
Oh, well done. That's a great achievement. Now call yourself an international author.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your journey, if you want to share that with us, please.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, and you actually don't realise what's going on and how life is, and that's one of the things that you need to learn when these bullying incidents are happening to you, because you do get conditioned as a child into certain behaviours and you learn certain behaviours, and that's what you take from incidents that happen in your childhood and you develop a coping strategy. And for me, one of it was being a people pleaser, didn't have a lot of boundaries, just accepted bad behaviour all the time and didn't realise this is not normal. So my journey going through this book and is about recognising the patterns in my life that didn't work and how I was a giver and gived, and I was attracting narcissists in the workplace that were taking from me. And I didn't know I had a choice over this. So this is all about, for me, learning I have a choice over accepting this behaviour or not, and also learning about putting boundaries in around other people's behaviour and just see what's happening and learn why and grow and move on with it.
So can you share with us, what types of behaviour you were subjected to so that perhaps others can, look out for those warning signs?
Had a few of it. I had emails going around about me, which I saw one day. I got sent isolated by the team, and people weren't allowed to ask me questions. I have been upset and people have disregarded my thoughts and feelings. So what I feel doesn't matter. And that to me is pretty devastating. Just being told what to do with no discussion, having somebody use our mutual boss to get him for me to give information to them when they could have just asked. Had people feeling that they need to be superior and put me down. And gaslighting is one where they undermine you and you feel doubtful and confident. You lose your confidence and you doubt your work ability over the time. And gaslighting, they also minimize and trivialize what you say. So you're trying to have a discussion to solve it, but they're not interested in what you've got to say, or they reframe it that they're right. So that's just some of the things that I've been through.
Yeah, I've been through very similar. It was it's quite devastating, and I ended up having a meltdown when I resigned. So it was pretty awful.
Yeah, it's not nice.
No. So I guess there's some of the warning signs, but how did you overcome that?
There are a few more warning signs if I could put
Of course you can.
the red flags. Because quite often when you meet for a person, they will tell you a lot more about themselves than you know. And just even having conversations, you could, like one particular person was just the way the conversation went, and I go, oh, this is not going to work. And it didn't. And we've got to take note of those gut feelings around people. I've been to job interviews where they've looked me up and down of what I'm wearing and then picked through my resume. So they're all red flags, and we need to listen to our intuition and get out of those situations because it's very hard to resolve those.
Yeah, I agree. I can so relate to what you're saying. It's and because you're so desperate to either get the job or you want a people pleaser, you want to keep your job because you overall you like the job that you're doing. You just don't like the people you're working with. So I've been in those situations, and sometimes as a temp employee, it's really hard not to, you can pick up on the signs, but you think it's you. I used to think it was me. It was me. I was being oversensitive. I was, but after I left and I thought about it, it wasn't me at all. I should have not been there in the first place. Because I just didn't fit in to their culture, and that makes it really hard too, especially when you are just a temp and you've got to try and fit into a work culture. And if the work culture is a little bit toxic, it makes you feel less than a person, I think.
Yeah. And I think I like one of Oprah's sayings is that people want to be validated, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and what they said mattered to them. And I think quite often in this situation, probably you were like me, they didn't even listen to you or want to understand where you're coming from, what your concerns were. It was just disregarded.
Yeah, it was. It was, and because the boss had an ego bigger than Mount Everest. It was, and I was a woman. That made it equally hard. So yes. All right. So through your journey, what are the things that you learned about yourself, about the red flags?
Okay, so one of the things I really learned with the bullies themselves is about them wanting control. And the big aha for me was the fact that they want me to think about myself the way they think about me. So if they decide they're superior and they think you're weak and pathetic, they want you to think you're weak and pathetic. And that just blew my mind. just learning it's all about their repeated behaviour on you. So just learning to know what the signs were and what they want compliance. And the other thing I sort of learnt too is they actually go for high achievers because it gives them a thrill to take down someone that's a high achiever. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I was always, trying to outdo somebody just to prove that I was worth something. And it was just disregarded. And it was so devastatingly bad for my self-worth. It was terrible. It's taken me years to get over it.
Well, it does, because it changes your brain too and can make you more helplessness, the biology in the brain. And it's not just simple, you just let a comment go, because quite often this deliberate cruelty can actually cause you trauma.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yeah, it's a devastating thing. But I guess what can people do, I guess, to other than be aware of the red flags, what can they do to better their own mental health and get through the bullying?
What they need to also is recognise, what I found is I didn't have a lot of self-worth. So I think if you build up your self-worth and self-love and know that you matter and you're important and you're in here on this earth for a purpose. And I think it's harder to get into the criticism that way. The other thing is, like what I learned, I've got a choice to accept what they say about me or not. And when I look at it I think one of the things for you is, if you can't resolve the situation by talking about it, it's a flag to go, because you're not going to resolve. I think I tried so hard to meet in the middle and it just wasn't meeting in the middle. And that's the hard thing, is letting go, because you keep wanting to try that person to see you and they're not interested in you. Quite often they don't care or have no empathy about you. And I think if you understand what you're dealing with, that helped me as well. But I also need to look at myself and what I needed to fix. So I needed to fix some boundaries around their behaviour. And I accepted people's behaviour for years as normal, as abusive. So I hadn't learned how to speak up and ask for what I want, or just say, I'm sorry, that behaviour is not acceptable. I'd prefer if you talk to me in that way. In some cases, most people, they'll change it. Some of the others, more narcissistic behaviour, won't. So that's when you've got to work on getting out. But you've got to do a lot of healing from yourself. The other thing I learned is that, and I had a lot of shame from childhood, the bullies know how to find those wounds in you, and they know how to twist the wounds, that knife in that wounds that hurts. So we've got to deal with this shame that we've been given, that there's something wrong with us and that we're broken. And we're not broken. It's just behaviour that can be conditioned. So it's, I think, knowing we have choices and we can create a great life for ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. But it's a long journey. I think, and if you don't articulate, or to somebody who's empathetic or a good listener or whatever, you're never going to get over it. You have to go and seek help, whether it's a psychologist or a counsellor or, your best buddy or your husband, your wife, your partner, whatever happens to be, someone who values your opinion, who values you. You need to go and discuss it, because otherwise it eats at you. And I'm proof of that. It's taken me nearly 20 years to get over the abuse that I was subjected to in one of my jobs. And I knew I was doing a damn good job, but just the recognition just wasn't there. And it was really hard. And I just carried that shame and belief for, 20 years. So.
Because it wasn't about you, or, it was about their behaviour. and that they target people. And what I don't like is there is always a trail in a workplace for this. There's always a trail. And quite often workplaces think because someone's left and there's no more problems, that the problem person left. In fact, the person's still there. They just don't have anyone that they feel threatened by.
Yeah, but sometimes, bullies in the workplace do it surreptitiously, don't they? So everyone else thinks that the bully is just a really nice person and, butter wouldn't melt in their mouth. But to you, you can see them for who they are. But if you try and complain about them, no, well, I don't see it. So, it's all done in the background, and it's to get people to believe you. It's really hard.
It is. It's very much hidden because it comes back to two people of what they said, and it's very, very hard to prove. But the effects like you had and I had, they're actually devastating on the person. And I know it affected my work performance, but there's just you don't feel safe even talking about it at work. And it's such a silent thing in the workplace that no one talks about it or looks at the context of the behaviour. And quite often they'll look at one incident, but it might be a building up of multiple incidents.
Yeah, I used to hate going to work. It was getting to the point where I was feeling nauseous just walking in the front door. Just what's going to happen today, And I said I had a meltdown the day I left. I just because when they had the exit interview and I was yelling and crying and I was just a total mess. It was all those months had just accumulated, and I just had to let rip. And didn't, because it was a small country town, it didn't do my reputation any good.
Well, that's the problem. That's why there's so much silence and the bullies keep going, because it doesn't get looked at. And you've got to be silent when you leave your job. Don't tell the next employer. And it just keeps going. And look, I've struggled with doing exit interviews because nothing really comes out of it. And I know one place I worked, it took 5 years after I left before they took staff away from that particular person, and multiple people had left before me and multiple people had left after me.
Yeah, and they don't look at their staff turnover because they think this person's just God or goddess, So
yeah. I just want people to know they do have a choice in this, and you're right about seeking someone to help you with this, because it does change your brain and how you see yourself. It's not simply telling someone to let go and move on. And it's more complicated than that, the healing from it.
It is. So what would you suggest, Elizabeth, ways that people could heal themselves or get healing?
Well, again, professional help is always a good one, but also to recognise what stories you're telling yourself too, because quite often you tell yourself you're pathetic and you're useless and all those sorts of self stories, instead of actually processing your emotions from it and working out what emotions you actually felt out of it. And like for me, one of the big ones, and I think probably the same with you, was the rejection. I felt so rejected as a person. And we just have to be able to recognise what the emotions are and process them and move them out, rather than getting those negative stories. Because I think you probably know too, once they get in your head, they're hard to get out and change them to positive stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it doesn't matter. People say, affirmations, do affirmations. Stick them up your jumper because they don't work.
They're not enough on their own.
No.
I've been taught a new one, which is I choose to believe, and I find that more powerful. So I'm choosing what I believe. So, as a different way of doing it, where you're making a conscious choice.
Mine is I am enough. It's written on my bathroom mirror. So every morning when I go in and do my teeth and my hair, I am enough. Yeah.
There's a lovely, I don't know the band, whether it's Corelli or something, there's 5 sisters and they've done a beautiful song called I Am Enough on YouTube. And that's really powerful to to listen.
Oh, yes, I have heard that. I think, yeah, it is a really good song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also about recognizing and surrounding ourselves with a good tribe of people that want to pull us up and see what's in us, not pull you down. So you really have to be careful around friends and colleagues that they're the right tribe for you, that they're interested in you and they're interested in caring for you and helping you.
Yeah, and there again too, you could be, it doesn't have to just be in the workplace that you find bullies. It could be amongst your group of friends. There could be a silent bully in there, and you wouldn't even see it. That would be even more devastating to have a bully amongst your circle of friends.
So yeah, it's just so it's important to recognize what it is and deal with it. But it does take time to heal, because it's like, I think you probably felt like it was devastation to the soul. And this is what people need to understand. It's just not one-off something or you're too insensitive. It is quite devastating to the soul of what's gone on, that you're rejected or you're told you're nothing. It's huge.
Yeah, it is very huge, and it's mind-blowing, to be honest. As you said, it's just it gets in your brain, and it's it's not me that is the problem, but the point being, I'm made to feel like it was me, and I'm sure that happened to you as well. It's you probably were made to feel that you were the issue and not the person who was the actual bully, who was making you feel worthless and useless.
Yeah, they're very good at deflecting their behaviour. And if they do have some narcissistic personalities, then we've all got some on some range, but some are quite extreme. And it's all about their self-importance, and they want to be built up. And they can get negative supply by our reactions to them. And some people absolutely get off and take pride in people reacting to them to make them feel good about themselves. So it's just so sad, because they're hurt people as well.
Yes, they definitely are. Okay, Elizabeth, your book is available on Amazon, I'm taking it. Anywhere else?
Lulu.com.
Lulu.com, okay. Do you want to hold the book up again?
Yeah, thanks.
In front of your face?
Yeah, there's the
Violet, no more. No, down a little bit.
Yep, sorry, I should take my background off. Where we are.
There we go.
Yep, oops. Yep.
Yeah. Healing from Workplace Bullying by Elizabeth Gray.
Yep.
Okay, and where else can they find you, Elizabeth?
My email's in the book. I do poetry on Instagram, which is LIZZG4 on Instagram. And my email is liz_g@bigpond.com if you wanted to get in, contact me, or any help with that, or talking with it, because it's important to know this is just not normal and it's not you.
That's it. So I guess any final words of wisdom that you've learned along the way?
Just really value yourself, because part of it is you've got a light shining. They don't attack you for no reason. It's because you've got a light shining in you, and we can't allow these people to dim our lights.
No, they cannot. All right, Elizabeth, thank you so much for your insight today. It was wonderful talking to you, and and we'll talk again soon.
Yes, thanks so much, Rose. Really appreciate that.